Hey there, Cancer, and welcome to your 2020 Creativity Tarot Forecast reading. My name is Kayleigh Jean, and welcome to my channel. I record these videos for creatives, entrepreneurs, anybody who's interested in their personal growth or psychological growth and spirituality. So if you're interested in any of those areas of life or even just creative self-expression in any form, then go ahead and keep watching. While I was tuning into your guys' energy for the year of 2020, I had some messages coming through that really felt first of all, like they were showing me a victory wreath. So it really feels like 2020 can be a time of great victory for you in some way, shape, or form, Cancer. I feel like there is this sense of accomplishment coming through for you. And we'll get some sense with the cards as well for like timing on this. But really what I get is that it feels like you accomplish something or you achieve something that you've been wanting for a long time, or maybe even for some of you, if you're primarily interested in the area of life that pertains to personal life and relationships and things like that, there could be somebody that you've been sort of pining after or someone that you've been wanting to get to know better or want to rekindle a relationship maybe with someone from your past, and that could have been on your mind. I feel like there's, if it's more that's your focus, there's something about that kind of being possible this year. But at the same time, I'm getting this impression that once this kind of victory is achieved, right, or once this thing that you've wanted has come back into your life or it's come into your life for the first time, there's a period of joy and awesome gratitude with that. And then it feels to me almost like there's this sense of wanting to go deeper with your personal growth or with something that can take you into a deeper layer of yourself. I feel like if there's something that you've been really wanting, Cancer, and there's something that you've been kind of feeling like, when I get this, I will be happy. The good news is you're going to get that. But I also feel like after you do, after that sort of honeymoon period is over with it, you're going to realize that there was something deeper behind that desire that you now are going to want to explore. And I feel like for many of you, this could be a spiritual path, or it could be maybe something related to your purpose or an important contribution that you want to make. The overall sense is like that this is a year of victory for you, Cancer, but it's also about recognizing that like whatever accomplishment it is that you've been trying to achieve isn't necessarily like the whole story in terms of making you happy. I feel like you're going to maybe be surprised at some point this year that something that you really didn't think could have the power to make you happy is actually going to make you like really, really happy. And the thing that you think is going to make you really happy is going to be like, oh yeah, that's nice, but it's not necessarily the main focus anymore. You know, it's almost like once you accomplish it, then all this other stuff comes into focus that you feel like is actually more important. Like sometimes this happens when we have supercharged periods of personal growth, and I think for you, it's possible that many Cancers listening to this would agree with me that 2019 and 2020 are probably both years in which you go through an incredible amount of transformation just because of all the eclipses along the Cancer-Capricorn axis and all of this kind of powerful energy in Capricorn, which has been opposing any points that you have in Cancer. So it's a lot, but overall I feel like great things are coming for you, and I also feel like at the same time you're going to be recognizing that those aren't where your happiness is derived. You're going to be really recognizing that you create your own happiness, and that's going to be a very liberating awareness to have. It's easy to know that like intellectually, Cancer, but it's a different thing to kind of feel it so deeply. You know, like if you've been wanting to move, for example, and it's just been super slow to happen, you could move into like your dream home, let's say, but then once you're in there, you realize that you could have been happier in the last place too. So it's that kind of thing, I guess. So we make our own happiness, but I feel like you totally know that, and I really want to get now into your cards as far as, let's take a look at some of the overall energies of the year and how they all fit together. Keep in mind, Cancer, that I record these readings for each zodiac sign, and nobody is only one zodiac sign. So it's possible that some of these energies could be very fluid, and sometimes they may not make sense when you first hear them. But I encourage you to come back to this video throughout 2020, because you will probably start to see kind of how these energies are connecting to your life. And also, it's always a good idea to check your sun, moon, and your rising sign readings, because when you culminate all of those, that will really kind of give you more of an accurate insight into the amalgamation of all of those energies that are the most important to your chart. Cancer, Cancer. Clear guidance for Cancer. Please, Tarot, give us clear guidance for Cancer. Okay. So I'm going to lay out your cards. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, and August, September, October, November, and December of 2020. And I also want to get you an Animal Spirit Oracle card. And this is just going to show us sort of like the core transformation that you're going through this year. It's also a totemic animal for you, so this creature could be bringing you additional messages throughout the year. So if you see this creature or their likeness in real life or in media, then pay attention to that, because it could also be kind of ushering in moments of synchronicity or giving you intuitive insights and clues throughout 2020. Cancer, Cancer. Okay, we've got the fish. Beautiful. So the fish card it's very watery, and this actually is really beautiful because we see this crescent moon here, and we do have several eclipses in your sign in 2020. Actually, as the sun moves into Cancer on the summer solstice, if you're in the northern hemisphere, there's going to be a solar eclipse. So there's definitely a big emphasis on the Cancerian energy this year, because right as the sun moves into your sign, there's just this major eclipse happening, and I feel like the focus is really going to be on you, Cancer. I feel like, especially in your own life, with the fish card as kind of like your totem, I feel like this is really about kind of letting go of anything that sort of had you feeling stuck or stagnant in the past, and recognizing and feeling into the flow of your life, and recognizing and feeling into sort of the direction that the current is naturally kind of offering you an opportunity to take. And I feel like when we see this, there's this sense of adaptability to change. You know, the sign for Pisces, which is one of your sister signs, fellow water sign, is the two fishes. And there's something about adaptability with the archetype of Pisces. There's something about like being able to kind of find yourself in many different situations that demand like many different approaches, you know, in order for you to succeed in them. And I feel like with this fish card here, it's really about kind of letting go of anything that's non-essential, anything that would sort of block you into approaching things in a very fixed way, or in a way that's like, this is how I handle that situation and that's that. 2020 may be a year where you challenge that part of yourself that has maybe more of like a conditioned emotional response to different stimuli in your life, and recognizing that it's okay to kind of let that go. And you may be really surprised at what a relief that is, to just let go of like some of the rules that you have for yourself. For example, we all have rules that tell us, okay, this is what has to happen, for example, in order for me to feel loved in a relationship. And if my partner doesn't do A, B, and C, then I don't feel loved as a consequence. And then I'm going to react in my conditioned way to not feeling loved. And a lot of times these conditioned beliefs are very subconscious. We're not necessarily consciously thinking about them, but when we hold ourselves and the people around us to these very strict unconscious standards, we naturally create a lot of unnecessary suffering for ourselves. And I feel like in 2020, there's a great opportunity for you to let go of any of that and just really feel at peace with yourself, no matter what situation you find yourself in. Being able to find yourself in maybe a situation where, let's take that example, that's just purely an example, but let's take that example of your partner is doing something that maybe they come home late, they're stressed out about work, they're not really talking to you that much, and they don't really care that you had a hard day because they're kind of in their own world. Maybe in prior years that would have really got to you, but I feel like, for example, in 2020, whatever that situation is, you're going to be able to kind of let that water just roll off your back and be like, they're just having a hard day, or they're just thinking about something else. I don't need to get emotionally caught up in that. I can just be rooted and trusting in my own energy, minding my own sacred space, minding my own kind of personal awareness, and you feel a tremendous sense of calm and a tremendous sense of self-reliance. And this is true if you're a business person, Cancer. This will definitely apply as well. For example, if you felt insecure about something about your business, or if something presented a challenge for you emotionally speaking, or if it presented a challenge for you in terms of your beliefs, if you never thought your business could do X amount of sales, or if you felt like it couldn't reach X amount of numbers for some reason of viewership, or whatever it is. Maybe it's a fear of public speaking that you've never overcome completely. Whatever this is, I feel like you're able this year in 2020 to kind of let go of your conditioned fear responses and your conditioned habitual emotional responses to different stressors in your life. And you're actually going to probably realize, paradoxically, Cancer, that maybe not too many things has to change outside of you in order for you to feel genuinely way more happy, abundant, and peaceful within yourself. And when you do that, the funny thing is, when you release attachment to outer circumstances having to change, the really funny thing is that often they change anyway without any effort on your part. Once you completely accept that they won't change, then it's all of a sudden the door opens and it's there for you. But it's often an energetic shift, and I see you making a lot of those energetic shifts this year. So let's take a look at your cards for the month by month, and we have the Seven of Swords, the Fool, so journeying cards in the beginning of the year, Four of Cups, and the Two of Wands. We have the shadow side. In June, we have the Nine of Cups, which is the beginning of your season. We have Eight of Cups. We have 10 of Cups in August. We've got the Wheel of the Year, the Magician, Nine of Wands in November, and we have the Six of Pentacles at the end of the year. So this is really beautiful, and I want to check the bottom of the deck. So we have the Six of Cups at the bottom of the deck, which is the Sun in Scorpio. So this is a really beautiful reading. I see some of you, I don't know if you have any plans to travel in the beginning of the year of 2020, or if you have some sense of kind of it's me kind of on my own, or it's me kind of handling things in my own way. That's sort of what I get with the January, February cards being the Seven of Swords and the Fool, because both of these people are sort of on a journey. They both are sort of carrying some things with them, but they're also traveling lightly. And the Seven of Swords person seems to be bringing his intellect, because the swords are a symbol, in my mind, of the intellect. It's one of the things they can represent, while the Fool is bringing the dog, which is his instincts. So there's a sense of kind of this commingling going on with your logic brain and your mental faculties, and maybe even your specialized skill sets and kind of your left brain and then your right brain, and you're sort of bringing them together. on this journey that you're taking, and the crucial detail, at least that I can see in these cards from the beginning of the year, is that this is a journey that's very much like yours. It's very much personal to you. It's very much a journey that you're taking out of this very independent desire to do something for yourself, or to do something that will kind of advance your internal ability to value like your contributions in life, or what you do. Like this is a journey that is specific to your life path, and you may feel kind of selfish for taking it. Like, I don't know if this is like you kind of leaving someone behind so you can go travel on your own for a little bit, or if it's like leaving behind responsibilities maybe at a job and taking some time off. It could also be like this feeling of just wanting to get some space to yourself. And again, I don't see that as being a negative thing. I actually feel like it's going to rejuvenate you based on the cards that come next. But what I see here, Cancer, is that the beginning of 2020 looks very much like you are kind of intentionally separating yourself from like a group or from a collection of people that you used to engage with. And you're like, oh, now I can like breathe easy. Because this person's walking away from the tents in the background. And he's like, this is my path, like this is where I'm going. And the Fool is that sense of like, oh, like that breath. Even the Fool is associated with the letter Aleph, which is like, it means the breath. It's like the Fool is the breath of life. So it's like, you're taking this deep breath, you know, as you go into the first couple of months of 2020, you feel a sense of relief by this ability to have self-reliance and independence. So don't be worried or afraid that it's coming off selfish, because I feel like you really have to focus on you right now, Cancer. Just like I said before, the astrology is very transformational for your sign this year. So any points that you have in Cancer, if you have your sun, moon, rising, stellium in Cancer even, those points are going to continue to be stimulated by really powerful transits and really powerful astrology in 2020, just as they have been in 2019 as well. So as we go deeper into 2020, we have the Four of Cups and then the Two of Wands. So this kind of journey energy that we're getting in the beginning of the year transforms, I feel, into like the Four of Cups and the Two of Wands. So there's a sense of a realization sometimes when we have the Four of Cups. There's a sense of a realization of a lack of emotional satisfaction with like our life in general, or with a particular area of life. Maybe it's a job that feels like it's a dead-end job, or maybe it's a relationship that feels like it's not going anywhere, or maybe it's even like a sensation of writer's block, or a feeling of not being inspired in some way. But there's a sense that we could be experiencing a lot more joy and emotional satisfaction than we are when we have the Four of Cups. But the good thing about this is that whatever dissatisfaction you're feeling, that is actually sort of the, it's the other side of the coin. And like the side of the coin that it kind of turns into as you go into April is the Two of Wands. So one side of the coin is like dissatisfaction with a situation in your life, or just feeling uninspired, emotionally speaking. The other side of that is that you start to strategize and you start to chart a course and you start to plan and prepare and dream up and visualize what you actually want. You know, you go from kind of focusing a little bit on, you know, some less than ideal circumstances, and then you start to really achieve this internal picture of what it is that would feel better to you than what you've been experiencing. And that's very specific. And I love the globe here and the cat. I feel like this is a very playful energy here that probably involves for some of you like a great deal of travel, or a sense of being able to kind of set your sights on something further out than what you are used to, or it represents like a real break from your normal routine. Let's take a look at the rest of your cards. So as we go into May and June, the shadow side and the Nine of Cups point to this energy of in May, it could be possible, and this is something that I've seen come up in a lot of people's cards because we do have some retrogrades beginning in May and June, actually with the outer planets as well as Mercury in June will be going retrograde, so there's going to be some pretty significant retrograde energy happening. And there could be a sense with the shadow side of like a fear or anxiety that's kind of popping up for you. And it may have to do with this, with either like a lack of self-worth around your work, or it could have to do with like a fear of inadequacy or a fear that something will not be resolved the way that you want it to. But then you have immediately following, you have the Nine of Cups. So it's almost like with these energies, we could kind of say that like maybe you have a launch planned for June, maybe because you know it's your birthday season and you just get this sense that you're going to have a lot of good reasons to challenge yourself or to get out of your comfort zone in June for whatever reason. In May, you could be having kind of like a freak out moment, like, oh my gosh, what did I agree to? Or why did I plan this? Like, why did I put so much on my plate? It could be also that in June you have some kind of like either a deadline or something coming up that you can't avoid. And I feel like May, like the energy of it could be a little bit like you are just looking way too closely at the flaws of what you do. And you're kind of magnifying them is what I want to say. It's like you have a magnifying glass over your project. Like let's say you're a writer or a painter or something like that. You're literally looking at your work and you're kind of thinking, oh my gosh, this is garbage, or this isn't good enough, or I didn't do this, or I forgot to do that. And there's just this sense of kind of like almost like with the shadow side, we can have a panicky moment. But the thing is, I really feel like this isn't something for you to worry too much about, Cancer. I feel like with the Nine of Cups, everything is actually going to work out really well as the sun moves into your sign around the solstice. And I feel like that could be a really powerful time in terms of the astrology for you because, like I said, you do have an eclipse at that time. But I also just feel like sometimes when we're leveling up massively in our career, or when we are getting out of our comfort zone, we're doing something that freaks us out, we're growing massively, that's when the shadow stuff gets triggered, because that's when we really have to face it and deal with it. If we were playing small or we were taking it easy, we wouldn't have as many of these fears coming up because we wouldn't be challenging ourselves on that level. So I want you to just remember that, Cancer, especially if in May you do feel a little bit of anxiety or a little bit of kind of uncertainty and self-doubt, because I actually think everything is going to work out amazingly for you and you're going to get what you want out of the situation. So the message here is to really just focus on what you want. And anytime that you find yourself sort of starting to like get distracted by the fears, just reorient your focus. Change your focus, Cancer. Just start visualizing yourself having the kind of experience that you want to have. And I see that as being really positive. For some of you, there could be like some desire to make some changes to your lifestyle with the shadow side and then Nine of Cups followed by the Eight of Cups. For some of you, like leading up to your birthday season, you could be thinking, I want to change this about my diet, or I want to change X, Y, and Z about my exercise regimen, or even my personal habits. Like if you are, if you smoke, or if you engage in some kind of substance abuse, or if there's something that you know that you do that's not necessarily the greatest for you, I could see you kind of recognizing that in May. And that would make sense, you know, because when the sun goes into Taurus, it's going to be, and Gemini, it's going to be kind of going into a more of like a quieter area of your chart, you know. When the sun's in Gemini, it's in your 12th house, so it's kind of like asking you what you want to liberate yourself from, you know? And so I could see how, like, by the time the sun moves through Gemini and into your first house, you could feel like you've figured out kind of what you want to shift, and you could feel like you recognize like what will set you free in some way. And that could be, the reason that we see in July the Eight of Cups. It's like you making the decision to walk away from something. Maybe it's a habit, a situation, a relationship that is either just not healthy for you, or, yeah, we'll just leave it at that. It's like something that's not healthy for you. And I feel like this is something that's very kind of gratifying for you, especially as the sun will be in your sign, for the majority of July. So there's a sense of you kind of being able to have the strength at that time to make some big changes, or maybe even walk away from one thing and walk towards something else. So it's not necessarily that you're just letting go of something, but it's like you're accepting something new. Maybe you're cleaning house, like I was saying before, because when the sun is in Taurus, that's, symbolically that's your 11th house, and then it goes into Gemini, which is your 12th. That's kind of what I was feeling, is like that, because the 11th house is more like friendships and community and things like that, and you had this theme of community, like walking away from a community or separating yourself from like a social aspect and like kind of going on your own journey, or being a little bit more kind of an adventurer on your own. I feel like there's a sense of really kind of pulling even more of your energy away, or letting go of maybe some people in your life or a social situation in your life as we go into your season, where you're kind of like, this isn't right for me, but this is, because then we go into the 10 of Cups in August. So that looks really happy. Honestly, it feels to me like as you let go of maybe some kind of toxic people, or a situation that's not maybe quite aligned with you anymore. Maybe it's not anything negative about them, but it's just you kind of raising your vibration or changing what you're interested in, or something along those lines. You walk away from one thing, and then it's like immediately you feel like you're coming home, like you're coming home. So in July and August, there's definitely a change that happens in your life that could very well involve who you spend time with, but it could also involve like your family relationships as well, and where you really feel safe and comfortable, and really feeling more aligned with that, feeling like you're really coming home for some reason at that time. That's followed by some really successful energy. So in September, we have the Wheel of the Year, and October we have the Magician. So these cards are numerologically linked, because the Wheel is card 10 and the Magician is card 1, which in numerology they have the same value. 1 and 0 is the same as just 1. So the Wheel card with the Magician shows me that there's some kind of insight that I can give you for that time period, where it's like almost like if you were kind of playing a video game. Let's say, like, the image that's coming to mind is like if you're in a video game and you are like on a ledge. You know what I'm talking about, when there's like the sky, let's say, in the background of the video game, and you're on a ledge and there's like a dial, or there's like some kind of thing that's turning, and you can jump on it, and then it will take you, if you jump right at the right moment, it will take you up to the next level really quickly. There's something to that energy, because when you have the Magician showing up with the Wheel of Fortune, or the Wheel of the Year, around September and October, it's like you have this ability to kind of hook into a system that is ready for whatever you have to offer. So a way that this could manifest, for example, is if you are maybe let's say you're some kind of healing practitioner. Perhaps there is a local community network that needs a healer that does exactly what you do, and you're able to kind of go into that situation, and maybe you don't even have to apply. Maybe they're just excited to have you sign up with them, or become part of their network, or become part of the network of recommendations that they can give. There's something along those lines where it's like it's an opportunity that's made for you, but it's the Magician, so it's like it's your responsibility to actually take action on this, and it's your responsibility to like seek it out, present yourself with to the best of your ability, and really reach for it. He's reaching. he's reaching high above his head, and then the wheel kind of represents that cosmic energy of impersonal forces, like situations where we can create what we want for ourselves using our own agency, using our own ability to choose and our own ability to communicate on our own behalf. So this is going to be about you seizing the opportunity, Cancer. It's not something that's just handed to you, but if you are approaching it with intention and you are focused on what you want to create, I see some amazing opportunities coming in for you in September and October. So that's really beautiful. Now, as we go into the latter portion of the year, November and December. So November was the Nine of Wands and the Six of Pentacles is for December, but keep in mind, these are very fluid readings. So these card energies could be flip-flopped for you, or you could experience them in some different ways, depending on, what else you have going on with your transits and all of that. But I do feel in November, there's a sense of like guardedness on your part. There could be somebody who is maybe trying to offer some support to you at the end of the year of 2020 with the Six of Pentacles, but for whatever reason, you're not totally sure that you want this person's help. Maybe it's a pride thing for you, Cancer. I know a lot of Cancers can be a little bit aloof. It's not necessarily that you have like pridefulness or ego necessarily. It's more like you really value your emotional equanimity, and you really value like kind of your sense of like emotional and sort of even like physical self-reliance. So when someone kind of comes in with like a very generous offer, or somebody wants to kind of be part of your life or wants to support something that you're doing, you're not like the first one to kind of jump on the train to like receive whatever they're offering, because a lot of times I feel like, at least the Cancers I know, they really like to be independent and they really like to be able to do things on their own schedule. And they're very caring and nurturing people, but you really like to have, especially when it comes to your creations and your creativity, you really like to have that autonomy. So I could see, if somebody's approaching you for maybe a business venture, or someone maybe wants to invest in your company, if you're a Cancer who owns a company or something along those lines, it could have to do with that. It could also be like a friend who wants to see if you want to like maybe be roommates. Maybe someone's approaching you for a contract, or they just have some kind of offering, and I feel like at first you're kind of unclear about what you want to do. With the Nine of Wands, you might kind of have your guard up, but I almost feel like as we kind of move more towards the end of the year, like your thoughts on it might change. And the feeling that I get from the Six of Pentacles is not necessarily a negative feeling. Sometimes I can get a kind of like a more challenging energy from that card, but in this particular situation, I feel like it's worth considering, Cancer. I'm not going to say that every one of you, if you have somebody coming to you offering you like a contract or some kind of deal, or wanting to invest or wanting to work together or collaborate in some way, I'm not saying that it's always something to be like super on board with, because this is just a general reading, but I do feel like your instinctive reaction is to kind of hold yourself apart. And I feel like the energy of the situation is a little bit less serious than that, or it's a little bit more like open-ended, and that's how it should be. You should never feel rushed to work with someone or to make a decision or to do this or that. I feel like it's really up to you, Cancer. It's really up to you. It could be a great opportunity, but it could also be something that you ultimately decide against. So just keep an open mind. It's really hard to say as well, because this is very far out. It's like more than a year from now at the time that I'm filming this. So it's possible that, as we go through the monthly readings that we do here on this channel, that things could change in the meantime, and we'll get more insight into that kind of when I actually do the December 2020 monthly reading for you guys. Okay, so we have surrender is your word of the year. So when you have the fish and you have surrender, and then you also end the year on the Six of Pentacles, it kind of, and the Ten of Cups is right above that, the feeling, and also your kind of like catalyzing energy card is the Six of Cups. So it's like, with the constellation of cards and messages that have come through here for you, Cancer, I get this impression that really this is a year in which the rules that you have for yourself about like how you can accept help from others, or what makes you feel good and joyful and secure in yourself, like the rules, both conscious and unconscious, that you have for yourself are going to be changing in 2020. You're going to find that expectations that you had of others and yourself, that if they weren't met, they were gonna it was gonna make you unhappy, or it was going to be frustrating, or it was going to be disappointing. Like those rules, those expectations, those attitudes are going to be shifting. And if that doesn't excite you, you really should be excited, because like I said before, when your internal energy shifts in regards to a situation that has been frustrating to you, that situation a lot of times melts away on its own accord. It's the weirdest thing. It's happened to me 1,000 times, where a situation that I had a lot of resistance to, once I accepted it fully, then it just magically goes away somehow. Like maybe sometimes not right away, but it's like very soon after. It seems like pretty much every single time that I can think of where there was something that was really bothering me, once I kind of surrendered to it and accepted it and found that peace within myself from a place of self-love, the situation melts away and you don't have to worry about it anymore. So I think that this year is going to be a really profound one for you when it comes to your reactions to stimulations that you have going on in your life, and things that sort of rubbed you the wrong way are going to make you almost kind of laugh this year. You know, it's like you're just going to feel so like equanimous within your own beingness. And it's a really beautiful thing. And I think that one of the messages here, Cancer, is that potentially, you know, things that you've wanted for a long time, or relationships that you've wanted for a long time, with the Six of Cups card and the Surrender card and the Ten of Cups coming up in your reading, these things are going to be coming together for you. But never forget that it's a result of the inner work that you're doing on yourself. You know, I mean, it might feel like things are coming together for you by accident, but it's not. It's happening as a result of you finding that deep sense of self-love and kind of unconditional acceptance, you know, of yourself and of life. And when you lean into that, everything changes, and things can just sort of magically happen for you when you're staying focused, you know, and being clear in terms of your thinking and clear in terms of your lifestyle choices. So I hope this reading has been helpful for you, Cancer. I hope it gives you something useful to think about as you go through 2020. Please let me know in the comments if you're still here at the end of this reading. I'm sending you so much love. I know I talk a lot, but I just really want to make sure to cover everything that I'm seeing from multiple angles, and hopefully that gives you some kind of message or some kind of benefit for yourself in 2020. I'm sending you so much love. If you'd like me to look into your astrology or your tarot cards for 2020, you can check the link below. And if you'd like to support my channel and all of the time and effort that I put into these readings, I will put a link to donate. I send a prayer of gratitude and tenfold abundance out to every single person who donates. So there's that. And thank you so much for being here, Cancer. I'm sending you a huge hug, and I will talk to you next time. Mwah! Bye!